Hello, I am Vleer, better known as Luos, and in this part of the VFX Overhaul videos I'm going to try and improve upon the initial impact. Wish me luck, I'm gonna need it. So, the initial impact is basically when he hits the floor and everything before that. I kind of want to have some kind of impact effect when he hits the floor so that it really shows the strength of that impact. I also want that those two hammers to be glowing before he hits the floor, and luckily this character already has an option for that through the alternate emissive strength. As you can see, it now starts to glow, now not, etc. So I need to tweak that, and for that I am gonna add a curve. Now keep in mind I haven't touched curves in a few months and I don't have that daily experience to make this go fast. I'll do my best. I don't need to add a curve, so I'm gonna add, and then I'm gonna get the add variable curve, alternate emissive strength. And that should be this one. There we go. And if you hold Ctrl and Shift, I can add a key. Let's first try find the moment where it should start glowing up, and I think it should be about at the beginning. So Ctrl Shift click, and I'll get a nice dotsy node where I can start everything out. I'm gonna clean the value up a little bit, and then find the moment where I want it to be fully glowy, and I think that part is just before he starts moving the other way around again, so about here. Ctrl Shift click, and let's make it an order 5, nice round value, and a value of 1. Now it should start glowing, but for some reason it's not. I wonder why. Convert to metadata, and nope. Auto, I think it's auto that should be on, yes. Okay, and now it's activated, as you can see. So he's slapping, it starts glowing, and there we go. I wonder if we can actually go increase that value to like 5 or 100. No, just 1 is enough. Okay. That's already nice, and the moment it hits, we want it to cool down again. So it's a bit hard to figure out where the initial hit is, especially when everything's playing. So is the first hit, or it should be about there, I guess. So Ctrl Shift click there, clean up the value a little bit, and keep the value to 1. And now it should fade out before he moves up again. So let's make it a nice slow fade. Ctrl click again, clean up the value a bit, and set it to 1. Now if I'm correct, and if I select all of them and I press, I think it was just 1, yes, then you get a nice curve. It goes a little bit over the edge, but you can change that when pressing the number 2, I think, or number 3, when I'm actually moving them all at the same time. I didn't even know that was possible. So if you select them all, hold the middle mouse key, and you can move all the selected ones. I never knew. So I'm going to select these two, and there should be a button to clean them up. Okay. I really don't like this menu at all. I want this to be bigger, but as you can see, not a thing. So let's see, I want to select this one again. Press 1. Should be a curve, but it isn't. There we go. And now it's starting to glow and hit the floor. And I'm playing. There we go. Now it would be cool if that at the moment it's starting to glow at here, that there's some kind of additional effect showing that it's totally loaded. Now sadly in this project I don't have the special notifications that actually slow down the time, because it would be really cool to have him slow down just before it hits, so that there's really a nice sense of this is getting stronger, and when it hits all hell breaks loose. But oh well, I guess we have to do it with this for now, which is fine. So now it glows up, and that does add some nice effect. There we go. Okay, that was the first part. Now let's focus on the impact. And well, I do have like an impact pack that I also published on a marketplace. I'm wondering if the best way is to just make everything from scratch. I mean, there are already tutorials for that. I'm not really sure if I want to do that, but it would save some time if I actually used part of the package. I guess it's going to be a guide on how to move some content to another folder. I'm not sure. I'm debating. It's not that hard to actually make the effect, so alright, you know what? Let's just make something really simple. It doesn't need to be super high-end anyway, so I think we can get away with using 3ds Max and just make a nice spark. We're gonna need some sparks for something else as well, but those are small sprites. In this case I need a mesh with all kinds of spikes, think like Breath of the Wild or whatever. So while I'm waiting for 3ds Max to load, which is taking ages nowadays, I wonder what else that I can do in this one video. First of all, I'm actually gonna save this. And I think Max has finally decided to show up. There you are. And hopefully it's in a good mood today, because 3ds Max likes to be a bit crashy. So these are the spikes I already edited, and the electric floor thingy, crack thingy. I called it electric because it looks like lightning, but it actually isn't. I might also overhaul the rock things eventually, but let's see. We want to make a nice sparky spike thingy. And I could make it mainly in a texture, but I think it should be fine if I just use a plane and just work from there. So I'm gonna hide the grid, and I don't really need that many segments, so I'm just gonna go with one. And I wish Max always started with a gray color, that way it's much easier to see. Okay, I'm just gonna collapse that and like this, and we already have a nice spike. Doesn't need to be complicated, not always at least. I'm gonna make this part a little bit thinner. There, and I want another spike as well. That's a little bit different, so what will be the best way to do it actually? Wrong button again. Oh well, I guess we're just gonna use an old school cut in here. Do the same like this. And there, I might need to add a few more eventually, but I want something with 3 sharp edges, something like I'm gonna clean it up in a second, don't worry. Actually, might want to just remove that for now. Backspace removes vertices, by the way, in case you didn't know. So something a bit more like that. I don't want them all to be at the same height, so that could work. Might want to move that one down a little bit more. Like that. And that one a bit more there. And this one needs to be kind of like this. This should be fine. Now, for the annoying part, cleaning it up a little bit. And there. This should be enough to get some decent spark. I do want to make them a little bit thinner, though I can always do that later down the road. And just in case, I want to unwrap them already, so I'm going to just add an unwrap UVW. And I have a keyboard shortcut, but basically it's just a peel there, and I want to rotate them so that they're all upwards. That's one. And my keyboard shortcuts changed recently. I still need to adhere to them. I need to practice using them a bit more. And I'm going to select those and pressing peel again, rotate. That should be enough. I'm gonna look at them from the top view for a second. It feels like they are a little bit off. This is off for sure. So I'm gonna select those and I'm gonna align them on the x-axis there. Okay. Anything else? I do think they should be all up a little bit. Okay, that's micromanaging. Let's forgo that. Back to perspective view, which for some reason is disabled on my keyboard settings at the moment, which is really annoying. I really need to set them back, but I'm too lazy to do it. And now we just make a simple spark. We can do one with 5 edges, 3, whatever. What I do want actually is to make sure that the pivots are placed properly. So I'm just gonna move it here. Really quick, select this pivot and check the X location. And there. Applying pivots again and changing that X location on that one. Need to do the same for this. Pivots. There. Not really in the center, but we can actually change that effect object only. There, that's a little bit better. That should be fine for what I want. And I might actually want to make these a little bit thinner still. And then I'm just gonna duplicate one on every 120 degrees. And there we go. Come on. And duplicate it. And this is gonna be the base for the spark. Now, I always do want to merge them if possible. So I'm gonna copy one just in case I need it. There we go. I'm gonna attach these two together and just collapse those. And in here, I'm gonna need an additional polygon. Now, I should be able to just cap this, but sometimes it doesn't want to do that. Where's my cap? There we go. That's better. Might need to unwrap that part a little bit, but because it's in the center, it should be fine. And I want to do the same thing with this one. I do want it to be a little bit thicker, but not this thick. So there we go. A little bit thinner. You might get away with moving these sparks a little bit like this. This should be local, right? Yeah, it's acting a bit weird today. Okay, I can live with that. And do the same thing. So 120 degrees. Okay. And just like before, in case I need an additional one, I'm gonna copy one. And I'm gonna attach the other two to this one. Again, I'm gonna collapse them. Select the edges in the middle. And cap them. There. Now all we need to do is make them a bit more volumetric. Where should I start? I think I'm gonna start with this one. And all I need to do is rotate it 90 degrees up. I'm gonna grab that one and rotate it 90 degrees down. And I want to move them all to the center location, just that it's easier for me to see how and what. So I'm gonna move them to 0, 0, 0. And I'm gonna rotate this one 120 degrees or 60, whatever is fine. There. Now I need another one from this, which I should rotate 120 degrees. Actually, before I do that, 60 degrees rotation, and then 60 degrees into rotation. There. And we kind of need to do the same with this one, which I already rotated, which was bad. Maybe in local space I can still rotate it properly, but so let's see. We still have this location here, and we want it to be, let's see, what is a good spot? Something like this might work, and then come on, I want 30. 30. There we go. Actually, I'm gonna move it like this. And then like that. And that's all you need for some bigger spark effect. I might actually be able to remove the bottom part, because you probably won't see it, but it's just a few polygons, and this will result in this being able to be reused elsewhere in case that was needed. So that looks fine in my humble opinion. Now we can choose to make some of them bigger and some of them smaller. And I don't really think that's really necessary, but you know, the just in case part, I'm gonna do one of them. And one of them is gonna be like there. So that's more visible. A few more. And one of them is gonna be a bit more flat like this. And fill up some voids that are made here. I'm gonna resize that one a little bit. There. Spark. Okay, I'm gonna attach them all to that same mesh. Let's see if I had them all. Don't want to miss any, of course. And just in case, I'm gonna move it to see it. Alright. I'm gonna double check the unwrap, which should still be fine. There we go. There are some small triangles in the center, of course, like this one. But they are flat and we don't really need to address them that much. We can if we want to, but I don't think that's really gonna add anything important. I'm gonna flatten this part out though. Grab that and make sure that's set to 0. You can make this thicker, but that's not really necessary. And what else can we do? Let me think. Is there anything we can add? No, we can just pen. Okay. What I was thinking, because I should explain my reasoning, I wanted to have like a gradient that moves them in. Just size by life can help, but I also want them to fade in towards from the bottom to the top. I was initially thinking about a spherical gradient that's expanding, but I just need a regular gradient panning from bottom to top, and that should be fine. So there. Collapse them all, and we have the spark. Do we need anything else in this case? I'm thinking we could probably use one of these that's only aligned horizontally, but we can do that later. We already have the tools for this in Max now. So I'm gonna rename this static mesh, and I tend to add VFX to the meshes that are related to VFX. That way they are easier to find. And then just call it spark 01. There we go. I'm gonna reset the object. You don't really need to, but it helps. In case you want to do it without the llama tools, then there should be a X form, and that will reset it as well. It changes the bounding box and sets everything back to 100% kind of thing. So, and then I'm gonna grab the export tool from Josh Balkan, great guy, and export selected. Alright, now we have that. Let's go back to Unreal Engine 4. Hello, darling. Okay. So I need to import this, of course. Import, and I tend to do something like this. I'm gonna go for details and then just set the date so that the newest save is always on top. That way it makes finding content much easier. Okay, everything is fine. I'm gonna import it. I'm gonna double check, and that looks like a nice spark without a material. So let's make a material for that. New material. VFX, that's the way I call them, so it helps me finding content much easier. Then Sparks 01. I'm gonna grab that static mesh, placed here, and I already know that it's gonna be an emissive. It's gonna be either masked or opaque. So in this case I want it masked because I want to fade it in, and I don't need any translucency. It's gonna be unlit. I need it to be two-sided because I want the emissiveness on both sides, of course. It's not needing a tangent space normal map, so I can disable that. It's going to be fully rough because there's going to be no reflections, whatever, on it. And a little bit further down, I don't need light map directionality in mobile. It's just something that I always disable because I tend to work on mobile games quite a bit. And it saves some instructions and some texture thingies and whatever. Okay. This should be fairly simple. Let's just get a particle color. And that's basically all I need to do for the color. Though I kind of want to have a preview color for now so I can actually get a better feel for it. I like a nice orange like 0.2. And if I want to keep using this color, I can just drag and drop it in here. And I will save that color for later. I'm actually going to multiply, not normalize, sorry. Multiply that by a value of, well, let's do 10 for now. There. Nice bright spark. Now for the fading and fade out effect. I don't want to use a texture, so I'm going to use a texture coordinate node and component mask it. You hold down Shift and C, you get a component mask. And I need to make sure that it's the right channel. So I think it's the red channel. No, green channel then? Yeah, it's the green channel because you can see that the tips are dark. Alright. So now let's add some math to it. I'm gonna add something to the texture coordinate node. And that's gonna be a value from -1 to 1 probably, but we'll see. I'm gonna use a debug time sign. Plug that into the alpha, so it's going from 0 to 1, 0 to 1. And as you can see, not much is changing. You can see the tips sometimes doing something a little bit. Is this real time? No, it's not real time. There we go. And I probably need to go to -1. There we go. And that's how I want it to fade in. That should look quite nice. There are multiple ways I can do this. I can use a particle color, particle core even, because it's just scalar values, or the particle alpha, but I want to, well, I don't need it to fade in, so I can actually use the particle alpha for controlling that. And in case you do something like this and you're working for a client or in a team, at least comment it using particle alpha for panning. That way it's easier for somebody to know what's going on in case they need to tweak something that you made. I don't really like that new comment color. Can I still change that? Oh yeah, I can. There. I should disable that option. Okay, and that's basically all I really need for this effect. There, and the particle color should go there. Though it might be nice to have some simple fade, simple texture going on top of it. I just want to see what it looks like. You probably won't even notice it in game, so again, that's something that might not be worth it in the end. But I like goofing off and I like playing around with it. I have all my textures here, and I'm gonna use a noise, and it can be something very simple. So I'm gonna pick one of my favorites. It should be a bit more higher. Where are you? Not that one. Ah, there you are. This was still one of my favorite noise textures. I tend to use it everywhere. So I'm gonna add a panner to that. I'm gonna preview it. I need to make sure that there's a value. I think it's this value. There, and this just gives some additional oomph to it, you know, like maybe a small value here. It's not always the same, and I might want to decrease or actually increase the tiling. Not sure if that's adding anything, so let's do a lower value. And I could live with that. I do want it to be panning a little bit faster, so there. Alright. Now I could multiply this with the orange value. I'm actually going to show you what happens. But as you can see, there's a lot of dark splotches, and I could again multiply that with a high value. But the black parts are, you know, you get something like this, and I'm not super happy with that, so I'm actually going to change the values in this texture a little bit, and making sure that there's never a full black value, like 0.25 maybe. Now if I combine this with those colors, you get something more like this, and that looks a little bit better in my humble opinion. Stop previewing. There we go. And this should look fine for a spark. Now I need to remove that to the part and add the particle color to it. So I'm going to keep that here for preview's sake, and I don't need the emissive power because I'm going to do that in Cascade. So I'm just going to move those here. Clean up the nodes a little bit because I just can't live without doing that. And there. And I kind of want to clean up this. What are you doing? There. Let's move these a little bit there. Why did I grab that node? There. Okay. And I actually had a complaint on real-time VFX forums that my videos are too slow, so I'm gonna spend some extra time moving nodes about because reasons. Alright, so this is set up. I'm gonna save it, and I'm gonna make a new particle effect for it. Now there are a few particle systems like the fireball and ground crack, but I am gonna make this a separate effect so I can tweak it more easily. A new particle system, and I always call them PAR instead of PS. Which doesn't make much sense, but meh, I'm so accustomed to it. And then call it impact spark. And always a number behind it, because OCD. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is type data, and it's going to be mesh data. And I'm going to select our new mesh. There we are, spark. Plug it into here, make sure that the material is overridden, and we don't need anything else to be changed in here. Now this thing is insanely huge at the moment and spawning way too much, so I'm going to go to required and set it to looping once because I only need one. I'm going to go to spawn and disable the spawn rate and only add a burst value of 1. Maybe 2 could work as well, but for now this is fine. And change the initial size because it needs to be much smaller. Not exactly sure how small, but we can check that in a bit. So let's just go to 1 and 1.2 or whatever for now. We don't need any freaking velocity. Color of life will change later. We do need the material, which is this one. Plug that in here. It's gonna calculate and prepare the shader for being used as a skeletal mesh. And as you can see, because the alpha is already set in color of life, you can see it fade out again in a weird way. That's all okay for now. What else do we need? Well, I'm gonna change this constant to a 1 for now. And there, and we don't need the size over life thing yet. Or anything. Yeah, rotation, initial mesh rotation might be nice. So there. Now it's always a different spark. I'm gonna save it and already apply it to the effect in here so I can actually see the size. I'm gonna add a new notify state. Add notify play particle effect. There's actually, I need to get used to this new interface that changed a little bit. Play particle effect. There we go. And then hook in this one. There. And at the moment it's not located properly. And I don't need it to be attached to a bone or whatever. I just need to find the right location. And this is made on the y-axis, sadly. So I think about 100 should be fine. Okay, way not fine. 200. Almost 230, I guess. That's about the right location. And now I need to find the right moment when it hits the floor the first time. And that's about, let's just keep it here. And as you can see, it's way too small. I want it to be at least 3 times as big. And I want to make sure that it's in the middle of those hammer hits. So you need to move it on the x-axis a little bit. I think about 25 units. That's about fine, yeah. The z-axis seems to be about right. So that's because the floor in here is different than the one in game. As you can see, yeah, that could work for now. So let's make this about 3 times its size. And for some variation, maybe 3.5, 3.5, 3.5. And there. And now when we look at it, we can actually see a nice big spark. So that's a good start. Now let's tweak this sucker. We already know that we want a very nice bright orange. So I'm actually gonna make that orange, and you only need orange in this case. So let me just pick that. And there. And now to make it more emissive, we're gonna actually get a scale color of life, and this will change the scale of the color. I want to keep the color of life like the base color, and then only tweak down with the scale color over life. So in this case, I want it to be maybe 20, 20, 10. Okay, not enough. 10, 0, 0, something that's somewhat hot. Let's try 100. 1000. Okay, that's nice and hot, but way too much. And the end value, it should just be orange, I guess. Because it's only going to be around for like a millisecond. In that case, we also need the lifetime to be changed. Experience say that somewhere around 0.23 might work and 0.21. And we'll take it from there. Now the initial size for now is fine, but we need to change the color overlay for the alpha. And let's do a constant curve. Okay, we need it to be invisible. fade in quickly. Stay faded in, of course, and at the end, we don't really need to fade it out again, I think. We can do that with size overlay, we'll see. So about 0.2 seconds in, it should be fully visible. As you can see, this is too fast at the moment, so let's UE4. Just needs to be have the feel of it fading in a little bit. That could work. To be honest, I'm not too happy with the way that it moves in and out, but we'll see. I might actually go for translucent in this case. Save and see what it looks like in here. Moving back. Okay, I need to check some things. Size by life. And needs to be visible. Then full, just a little bit over full size, fade out. So I'm going to expand them all. And about 0.1 second, it should be actually 1.2, 1.2, 1.2. And at 0.15, it should be 1.1. At the end of the lifetime, it should be 0 there. And that makes the spark look way better already. Now I do want to make that change the curve a little bit, because as you can see, it's now all jagged edges. And I want this to be a nice smooth curve. So I'm going to try and select them all, which is hard in freaking 4.2 on, because it doesn't always want to select them all, as you can see. So now it's just hoping that everything was selected. There we go. Okay, this one feels better. There. And now check it in here. I still feel that they might need some additional sparks and that kind of thing. I want it to be lower, but then again, I should probably watch this in here, because that floor is a bit odd in the previewer. You can see it looks way different in here. I do think it can be a little bit later when I look at this. And a little bit bigger. So we're gonna do that. It needs to be a little bit later. So let's try 0.8. Might be a bit too late. And let's increase the size again. Let's say 5 to 6. There. And see what that looks like. The lifetime could be a bit longer, just a little bit. And maybe a little bit lower as well. So, lifetime, let's try 0.32 and 0.275. That way it's lasting a little bit longer. What else? We can lower it in here or do it in the animation tab. Let's do -5 or so. I don't like how long it takes to fade out, actually. I'm thinking for a second. Okay, let's see. The spark can be a little bit later, maybe. The location is fine. It does look more powerful. I'm considering to adding an additional spark that's a little bit smaller. Let's try that. Control W, should be Control Shift W in my case, because it changed. I don't want to share them actually. So right mouse click, emitter, duplicate emitter. I'm gonna lower that size to about what we had before. So something like this. And there. Initial mesh rotation should be fine. I do want to make the lifetime a little bit different so that there's a bit of a change in there. And in the color overlay, I want this to maybe take a little bit longer even. And again, I'd want them to be, their curve to be edited, so there we go. Get the color overlay and curve them a little bit. Okay. It feels much different in timing here than it does in the actual viewport, doesn't it? But it does feel way more powerful. So now we can maybe do something about there not being any sparks and whatever. And I'm thinking, what will be the best way to do sparks? I can do just like a simple sphere gradient, but I really like the hot dogs that Epic uses in Paragon. But I don't feel like remaking the whole thing. And I do have like the hot dog shaper in here, which is basically Epic's setup to make a nice hot dog thing. You can check it out if you download any of the Paragon packages where they made this. I just cleaned it up a little bit, and that's about it. So definitely check out Epic's Paragon stuff if you want to learn more about that. There's a lot of resources in there, and it's just a treasure trove of cool effects. So I might actually do something like that, I'm thinking. To add some sparks, I need to delete that one, and I can close these for now. Actually, before we do that, I kind of want to see what translucent would look like. Now, as you can see in translucent, the base shader pass is always quite high, but if you don't need anything to be affected by fogs or whatever, you can just disable apply fogging, and that will save you quite a few instructions. Now, I need to make sure that the opacity is going to that spot and saving it. And that should give a slightly different result when hitting the floor. It's just slide, and the slide because it's not masked in. And that will look almost the same in here, I think, but I do feel like it has a little bit more color to it now. I'm thinking, what else can I... If I actually multiply... This is going to be a guess. I'm actually going to multiply this with the gradient. and make the tip fade out as well. I want to see what that looks like. In slow motion, that looks more like this now. I kind of like that effect. It's not perfect, especially because it's just a flat gradient zooming in, but it does give this sense of energy that's coming from the core. So actually, I kind of like it. I'm gonna probably keep it like this. I'm gonna show in here one more time. I do feel like that the moment of impact still feels a bit weird, so that feels a little bit better. And here it looks like this, where it feels almost like it does need that delay a bit more, you know? That's very weird. So I am, just for the sake of my feelings, gonna move it a little bit to the right still, save it again, try it one more time. And that does feel like the moment of impact now. Alright. So that does add a lot more oomph to that hit, but we want sparks. And let's work on that now. So close all these things. I'm not sure why I closed the animation, because I will need that later. But I do need a new material again. And in this case we need normal sparks. And I kind of renamed this spark, so I'm gonna call this impact sparks. That way we have a difference. And then to get a new material, VFX generic sparks. Now I'm gonna use that hot dog shaper from the Paragon pack. Actually, like I said, I remade this because I don't think they actually made a material function out of it, but I'm lazy. And what it basically does is it grabs, changes the texture UVs so that the bottom and the top are always nice rounded edges, regardless of how much you stretch it. We do need a texture for that. I'm actually not sure if we have any sprite textures in here, so let's see. The IMIP plane from the Paragon character itself might work. Let's see, too many noise textures. I shouldn't have imported them all. We can try and see what it looks like. There. And as you can see, it looks stretched. But if I change the boolean to texture, boolean, static bool, you should be able to see what's going on there. As you can see, it's trying to round off the top edges there. And that can give you some nice results. So there we have it. You do need a particle color. And we don't need that much changes. We can actually keep them masked, though translucent sometimes works better. I'm not sure. It's always a guess. I always battle between masked and translucency, because translucency is a little bit more expensive generally, but sometimes the results are better. Masked can look nice, but sometimes there's this weird feeling on the edges. Let's try masked first, of course, because it's the cheaper option. Sometimes depends on all kinds of things. Again, disable the tangent space, we disable the fully rough, blah blah blah, and I always disable the light map directionality. There we go. For now, I'm just gonna combine this from the emissive color and just multiply this with the opacity and see what it looks like when I spawn a few, before I start tweaking much more. So I'm gonna save, and I'm gonna grab the particle system again. I'm gonna make a screenshot real quick. So if you slow down your viewport, you can do it through time and atom speed, or if you set up keyboard shortcuts, which I did for 125, then you can slow things down and you can make a nice screenshot, much easier. Okay, so let's try some sparks. New particle system. Let's name them actually. Okay, let's rename those as well. Impact, that way it's easier to find later down the road. Impact small. And we're gonna grab the generic sparks. I'm gonna single them out for now. As you can see, now they are nice and round, even though that the texture says it's square, and that's really cool. And if I now set them to PSA velocity and set the velocity size, let's see, velocity size by velocity, size by speed actually. And I tend to use the y-axis on out of 5 and then 2. As you can see, now they are nice hot dogs. The problem is that with mask there's some bit more overlay sometimes in that kind of case, but it should be fine. I'm gonna single out these two and disable the spawn again, and we're probably gonna emit quite a few of them. I'm not sure how many yet, but for testing purposes I'm just gonna set it to 100. The location should be a cylinder, I think. Let me shoot floor and enable the thrall mode so we can actually see the surface. It should be about fine. We don't need the negative or positive Z on the cylinder. We only need the rotation of it. And there. Now we can use the surface only, so they are only emitted at the surface. I'm not sure if I'm gonna go for that, but we'll see. And we could use some velocity. That way they are moving more outwards. I'm gonna change quite a few things in here, but for instance, I want a velocity of 10 maybe and 20. There. Now that impact hit is from the left to the right. I think it's actually on the y-axis. So negative y we might not need. That way it's only shooting one way out. And they are way too big at the moment. So let's change that size. I'm guessing something between 8 and on the y-axis 12 and 12. Though the z-axis is not really used. And maybe 14, 20, 20. Still too big, but it's a good starting position. Now I do want some initial velocity, and I mostly want that to go upwards, so like 400 might work. 800 maybe. 800 feels about right. And we want some random noise to that, so I'm going to do 20 and 20 there in the x and y axis, and minus 20 on the negative. That way there's a bit more variation. Alright, now we want those sparks to be feeling a bit more weighty, so we're going to add a drag to it. There's acceleration drag, and drag basically is like the air that's hitting against it, so it slows down. And while a drag of 1 is often enough, I like to have a few different values so that there's a bit more randomization. As you can see here, if I do like 100, then they don't go anywhere. But I don't want them all to stop at the same time, so something like that might be fine. And then we're going to go for acceleration, a constant acceleration, and this is going to be like fake gravity. And real gravity is normally minus 980. So now they fall down, as you can see. They are still too big, so I'm going to change the size again. 4 and 8 and 6 and 12. Seems about right. Now let's grab a color overlay. Let's do the orange at the beginning. Let's keep them orange to about half the lifetime, and then maybe go to a duller, more brownish color. Close to the end, so like 0.9. And use a scale color overlay, which I'm going to copy to do something like this. I'm going to set the required to loop only once. there. And disable singling them out there. As you can see, the spark is expanding way faster than the small sparks are doing. So I need to add some more velocity to it. I'm going to go to the cylinder and maybe try 20 and 40. That could work. I'm not too happy that it's really cutting from the half here, but I might change that in a bit. You can always use another thing for it. Now we're going to change the lifetime as well. There should be some that are really short, that are fading out quite fast, and some that might linger a little bit more. So this seems to be a bit better. Now let's check in the animation. And while it looks nice, I have this feeling that it should go upwards way more. So let's go there. Go to the initial velocity and change this value to like 1200. And you know, while the cylinder is nice, I kind of miss something, and I'm gonna probably replace this cylinder with a sphere. I'm gonna just disable it for now, and as you can see, it's now going all up. And get a location sphere. And I'm gonna disable the negative C because we don't want them to spawn at the bottom. There. We do need the velocity, and we already kind of know the values because of the cylinder, which are 20 and 40. So 20, 40 there. But we don't need the negative Y there. And this feels much more like the upward force of an impact hitting down. I might want to delay them a real small value like 0.1, so that the impact is just after that the impact is after the force, whatever. English. There we go. That already looks somewhat better. I kind of want to make sparks a little bit smaller, maybe. Though for initial thing it's fine, though. Alright, let's change the size by life now. Size by life. And this adds some nice additional control. I like to just delete it and then think about what I want to do. And then press the plus button every time I need to change something. Like, they need to be small at the beginning. Then they should stretch and become bigger. Then refer to their permanent size and keep the permanent size and then shrink. Expand all. So this is quite a long list already. So let's start at the beginning. They should be, at the birth of life, they should be, well, way too small. Then very quickly they need to expand quite a bit. So the x-axis should be 1, maybe 2 for the y, so that they're a bit more stretched. And about 20% of the lifetime in, they should refer to their normal size, to about 80% of the lifetime, and at the end of the lifetime they should shrink again. Now you get something like this. And if I do that in slow motion, sparks are a little bit longer at the beginning when they start growing, and then quickly become smaller and smaller and smaller and fade out. I can exaggerate this by making them 10. And you get this. That doesn't look too good, but a low value like 1 to 5, 2, that works actually. And that will look like this. I do feel like I want to make them go a little less high. So let's say 600 maximum and 950 tops. Alright. And now I want to tweak some of those values, because at the moment they're always spawning exactly 100 and I don't really like that. So let's say a maximum of 150 and a minimum of 50. That way there's always some change in the amount that's being spawned. And to add to that, I kind of want to duplicate this. Actually, I might want to make them GPU particles. Let me try. There, it's fine. It doesn't really matter for that low value. I mean, if you go over the thousands, then you should definitely use GPU particle. For 100, 150, you can still go back to CPU, but since there's nothing in here that really needs to be changed a lot, we can just go with that. And this is when you enable the cylinder and the sphere. We don't need that. I'm actually going to duplicate the sparks emitter, duplicate emitter, and do something slightly different with these ones. So I might actually disable the sphere and enable cylinder again so that there's more at the bottom there. Not sure about the spawn rate. I'm gonna go for 150 for now. I'm gonna make them much smaller. So 2 to 3 and 4 to 6 maybe. And so there's a bit more debris going on. And scale color wise, I'm actually gonna make them less bright. So 50 and 5 on that one. And actually make these go darker a little bit faster as well. So 0.8 or so. Lifetime should be about fine. But I do want a little bit more variation. Alright. Let's see what that looks like. I do feel that the impact spark, actually the delay is a bit too much. That might work better. Let's see what it looks like in the viewport. It definitely does feel more powerful on that impact. And you know, it might actually be nice to have a small few sparks that are going all the directions. So there's a bit more variation going on. It's maybe overkill. You could tweak that in LOD so it's only working up close, of course. So let's go for that. In this case, we still need the cylinder, though we could use the sphere maybe. Let's do the sphere again. And give it a somewhat smaller value. That will also affect the velocity scale. I'm actually gonna show you what's going on now. And I need the negative y in this case. There. That could look nice, though maybe the cylinder works better for this in the negative y and maybe some positive c. There. Now they shouldn't be as fast, so I'm gonna go with like 5 to 10 maybe. Maybe positive c should be gone. Initial velocity could be lower, so 200 maybe there. That feels a bit more natural, right? Let's add a bit more variation in here. There. And those are just for some nice additional sparks, as you can see. I'm also going to change the scale in here. I want the bottom ones to be not going as far, so 15 and 30 might work better. That way there's a bit more variation in all the movement. There. And yeah, I kind of like that. Let's check in here again. So I made sure that his hammers are glowing. that there's an impact effect on the hit, as you can see, vroom, vroom, which gives off like it's a much more destructive force that's hitting the floor, which also helps with all the destruction that's going on. And I added some nice sparks to it. And I'm gonna add more sparks later that are around those spikes and whatever. I'm also gonna add more debris to it. And after that I'm gonna address the flames, and I'm gonna add more smoke and tweak the refraction. The refraction is actually messed up. This is not Celine's fault. It's something that I did in the material when I got the project. I messed it up, and I haven't been bothering to tweak that because I know I'm gonna address that anyway. So there we go. Hopefully you'll learn something, and I might actually make another video today if I have the time. For now, I'm gonna call it quits. So have a good week, be productive, and don't do anything stupid. Alright, Luos out.